It's been an inconsistent ride for the defending Stanley Cup champion Panthers, especially on defense. Armando Velez of Locked On Florida Panthers joins us to discuss that and the second half outlook for the Florida Panthers next on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Florida Panthers, Armando Velez. And Mondo, man, it's been a roller coaster ride for the Panthers this year. I mean, they're doing pretty well, but consistency has been an issue. Why? What's been going on down in FLA?
Yeah, up and down with a few injuries to start the year, and for the Panthers, it just comes down to at times that they've sometimes haven't woken up for certain opponents. I mean, this homestand recently for them, just coming out of the Christmas break, and then Montreal comes to town all pumped because this is the part of the schedule where they always come to Florida, and their fans come with them. So coming out of the Christmas break, having a matinee game, that's kind of hard to get yourself back mentally into it when you're with your family, eating a whole bunch of junk, whatever that may be for each of the players. And yeah, getting back to their just the focus level for them and really for the Panthers. But at the same time, they've been able to turn it on whenever they've seen a logo on the other end of a team that they faced in the last two postseasons, 10-2-0 against those teams for them. So really, it's been about just having the energy to do it through an 82 game grind, which is hard to do. That's the Palmery system there's going to be some nights where you're going to struggle to score and you're going to just keep going on the forecheck, but the chances to finish might not be there for this team sometimes.
Does the fact that they only seem to get up for certain opponents concern you at all, or do you think this team has the ability to turn it on whenever they need to turn it on?
A bit for me with the concern level. I mean, four shutouts in the month of December, and they still find themselves 2 points out of first place in the Atlantic Division. Crazy enough to think. And for the Panthers, 5-on-5 defense hasn't been the best for them this season. But thankfully, they've added a new dimension to their penalty kill now with all the shorthanded goals that they've gotten this season. Their net PK percentage is the best in the NHL. They have twice the amount of shorthanded goals in the next best team, 10. The next one has 5. So crazy to think how many cats are getting involved in the scoring on that end of the ice. So that's been something that's helped the Panthers. But the concern level for them, these are the dog days of the season for the NHL. We're just waiting to get to that next benchmark for them. Obviously, Four Nations is coming up, which the Panthers have the most representatives, and they have at least one person on each of the teams, and then the trade deadline. So it's really about trying to see what you have. And also the fact, Gil, that there's certain players who are playing up a spot, especially on the D-core for the Panthers, which they have a few injuries right now. Nico Mikkola has missed the last 3 games. Aaron Ekblad exited the last game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, didn't play in the last 6 minutes of the game, and wasn't even in practice on Sunday for the Panthers. So that's a little bit of a concern as far as the injury front for the Panthers at this current moment.
No doubt. What were your thoughts on the fine to Sam Bennett for his hit a couple of days ago?
I mean, the Panthers on Friday, they were just very out of control with their sticks. They had at least 4 stick penalties for them. So for them, it's the right call for the Panthers based on how sloppy they've been all night on that front for them. So and also it may come down to a little bit of a frustration for Sam Bennett recently. I mean, he hasn't scored a goal in more than 10 games now after an incredible start. He was leading the way for the Panthers in a contract year, and a lot of those goals were coming on the power play with so many guys out. And also Sam Bennett has been that guy to step up on power play one at times when things have been a little inconsistent on that end. Switching Carter Verhaeghe there. Now Mackie Semiskevich is there for power play one for the Panthers. Just a few weeks ago, they added Aaron Ekblad back to quarterback in the power play when he hasn't really been played that part in the last couple of seasons. So a lot of shifting for the Panthers, and for them, Carter Verhaeghe is also on the third line, which he's also struggled to score. He's on pace for less than 20 goals this season. This is a consistent 30 goal scorer for the Panthers. So that's more of the concerns for the Panthers going on around here when it comes to just getting their scoring touch together.
Got to talk about Sam Reinhart. He has been outstanding. You mentioned the shorthanded goals. He's got 4 of them. He's also dangerous on the power play and 5-on-5. What has his play meant to this team this year with all the injuries and everything else surrounding this team?
Yeah, it's funny because the Panthers have played a total of 250 games in the last 2.5 seasons, and there's only been one person who has played in all of them, and that's been Sam Reinhart. So when you talk about most valuable player for a team, it comes down to what he brings when he is on the ice for the Panthers, and the fact that he could score shorthanded on the power play, even strength, everything with that for the Panthers. That it just goes to show just how much value he truly has to the team, and really awarded with that eight-year deal after getting the Stanley Cup clinching goal, being a constant with Alexander Barkov on that top line, even though there was a little bit of a time where he was going back with Anton Lundell to maybe spread the scoring around a little bit. But just there's just so much value with what Sam Reinhart brings to the table for just taking faceoffs on a certain end of the ice, being on that bumper position on the power play, and just and just the defensive end for him. So it just brings so much great to the table for the Cats.
You mentioned the injuries on defense right now. How does this team improve? Because defense has been the Achilles heel so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, injuries have also brought in a little bit of an opportunity. Adam Boquist hasn't necessarily played in every single game, but actually recently he has been the least of the Panthers' issues on defense for them. I think that he's been great with clearing the net front and with his 50-50 battles, to at least allow the goaltenders to freeze the puck whenever there is something of high danger for them and screens in front. So I thought Adam Boquist, especially him being a right-handed shot, only one of 2 right-handed shots on the entire team, him and Ekblad, I think that he's also made the most out of his opportunities for him. I still think the Panthers will go after a right-handed shot D at the trade deadline to at least fill in that middle six, because they have a top pair. They have one middle six guy, Nico Mikla, currently out, and then a whole bunch of other guys who you could mix and match here and put one on the second pair and then interchangeable on the third pair for them. So it really comes down to just opportunity, and also them stepping up, because the Panthers are truly feeling the loss of Brandon Montour. I mean, they were never going to pay that contract for him, but that was going to be a little bit of the growing pains. And like I mentioned earlier, with Aaron Ekblad quarterback in the power play, who's not as great of a skater as Montour, and then filling in that middle pair for them, that's a little bit of navigation that they're currently trying to figure out right before the deadline, which is still like just over 2 months away right now.
Any other moves besides a right shot defenseman that you expect? I mean, this team is still, as you said, battling for first place.
I think they would probably go after maybe like a middle six winger, someone who could also help kill penalties. Recently in their game against Montreal, I was looking a lot at a player like Joel Armia, who has some Stanley Cup experience and also can kill penalties, can fill in on that bottom line for the Panthers. Someone like that of an expiring deal that the Panthers don't have too much cap space, but we've seen that when you win over the last few years, people can also find their ways to force themselves into winning situations based on clauses in their contracts. So we've seen that so much over the last few years. We saw it with Claude Giroux, even though he was a free agent at the time. Joe Thornton was watching the Panthers Tampa Bay series when he was with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He wanted to come to Florida. And so recently Vladimir Tarasenko was the same. So we'll just see how the Panthers just continue. And the fact that they're in striking distance still for the top of the Atlantic Division, 9 to 10 points away from even the last team in for the wild card. So they're in good hands, and it's just really about keeping the focus and also seeing what you can just beef up, because there's not a lot of draft assets for the Panthers. So they're going to have to work with what they have.
All right, Armando, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
They can find me personally at MondoMan12 on X and on Blue Sky. They could follow the show account on X and Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers, and on Blue Sky at LOFLA Panthers, no underscore there. And yeah, so you could follow me there for all my Panthers related tweets and everything else around the South Florida sports scene.
Armando, thanks so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $250 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. And hockey fans, you could also use your knowledge of the game of hockey and your favorite team to find some really exciting opportunities on the FanDuel app. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League.